DePaul, North Carolina for today's college basketball clash as the Blue Demons of DePaul travel to Tar Heel country to take on the University of North Carolina. I'm James Brown, and welcome to our college basketball opener here on CBS. Both DePaul and North Carolina are indeed two of the most successful schools in all of college basketball. But after only 8 games, they share a very unfamiliar fate. They're both struggling. Carolina at 4-4, marking the first time in Dean Smith's 29 years that his team does not have a winning record after 8 games. DePaul is struggling even more so with a mark of 3-5. That's 19 years since DePaul has played under 500 after 8 contests. Joining me today, of course, is Billy Packer. And Billy, while both of these teams are looking to get back on the winning track, what's been the nature of their problems thus far?
Well, JB, in the age of space specialization and computerization and analyzation, sometimes you got to just step back and get into the real world. Basketball is a simple sport. Put the ball in your hand, shoot it at the basket, and make it go in. Both of these clubs are having a great deal of difficulty doing that.
All right, Joey Meyer DePaul said his team has very fragile confidence right now. What's going to be key for his squad today?
I think one of the things that you mentioned right there for Joey is the fact that he's got to, as a coach, provide some of that confidence level and leadership. We saw him do that yesterday in practice. He tried to create a tempo and an intensity that they needed, and they're going to have today and for the rest of the year. I don't think he has to win this game today, but I think they have to show they're moving in the right direction.
All right, and Dean Smith's team has had a very tough travel schedule. 8 games in 18 days. Hasn't had an awful lot of practice time, but what's important for his squad today?
Well, as opposed to Joey, I think this is a game that the Tar Heels must win if they're going to put themselves back on track for another great season. I think the ball club that also has not been shooting well. In my estimation, they've got to have a guy like Devin Madden move forward. He was the 3rd leading vote getter this year for all ACC preseason. Right now, he's just averaging 10 points a game. They've got to have much bigger production out of him. And we're going to see a pattern of rotation today as far as who's playing on the court for Carolina. And I think it's going to be much more indicative to the future than it has been for the past.
All right, the band is cranking it up here. Let's enjoy a little bit of flavor of college basketball. This year has been the lack of their outside shooting. Do you think we'll see some teams do what Alabama did and pack it in against Carolina?
Well, without question, James, you can see right here, Alabama playing a 1-2-2 zone. Very standard, very basic, with one exception. It's packed back inside the foul line. King Rice at the top of the key, just inside the 3-point area. He doesn't take the shot nor look for it. He throws to the wing. Obviously, there are no passing lanes inside. He comes back out. He has a wide-open shot, but does not hit it. Somebody for North Carolina has to prove that consistently they can make that shot.
All right, Billy, you had a chance to talk to both coaches to find out what they feel the keys are for today's games. Let's give a listen.
Offensively, we got to get shots because we're a decent offensive rebounding team, so we get a shot up. It has a chance to go in, but we have a chance to get a rebound.
I think we're going to have to do it collectively. You know, we don't have an experienced player. We play 10, 12 players, and none of them really are experienced. None have more than 1 or 2 years of experience. So we just have to pull it as a team, as a unit. And the problem right now is we need some success.
I think we'd have to do it defensively against them, and I think we will play better defense because we had a couple of practices. And I think we'll have to do that. We'll try to go inside and maybe get somebody in foul trouble.
We've been trying to get in a lot of shots, and hopefully we'll start drilling a few. But the only way you're really going to get confidence is having success. The only way you're going to have success is some of those shots to go down, and hopefully we'll be able to knock down some against North Carolina.
Two teams looking to get back on stride. We'll find out whether it's DePaul or North Carolina coming up right after this.
CBS Sports coverage of today's DePaul, North Carolina game is sponsored by Today's Chevrolet, who invite you to see why nobody's winning like the heartbeat of America. Nike, who reminds you to just do it. And by Levi's 505 and 506 jeans.
DePaul in North Carolina, ready to get into action for today's starting lineups. Let's go to the PA announcer, Carney Andrews.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Smith Center for today's game between the Blue Demons of DePaul and the Tar Heels of North Carolina. And now, let's meet the starting lineups. First, for the Blue Demons of DePaul. At forward, a 6'7" junior from Cerritos, California, number 15, Kevin Holland. At forward, a 6'7" sophomore from Peoria, Illinois, number 30, David Booth. At center, a 6'9" sophomore from Dallas, number 21, Stephen Howard. At guard, a 6-foot sophomore from Westchester, Illinois, number 12, Chucky Murphy. And at guard, a 6'3" junior from Chicago, number 20, Melvon Foster. And the coach of DePaul in his 6th season, Joey Meyer. And now for the Tar Heels of North Carolina. At forward, a 6'9" junior from Utah, Alabama, number 32, Pete Chilcutt. At forward, a 6'7" junior from Nassau, the Bahamas, number 44, Rick Fox. At center, a 6'11" senior from Hacienda Heights, California, number 42, Scott Williams. At guard, a 6'1" junior from Binghamton, New York, number 21, King Rice. And at guard, a 6'6" senior from Stanton, Virginia, number 22, Kevin Mack. And the coach of North Carolina in his 29th season, Dean Smith.
So Dean Smith's team has had a week of practice. He says he expects a great basketball game out of them today. We'll find out coming up in just a moment.
Aspen Cologne for men. A compelling new experience for women. Aspen, now.
Volcano erupts in South Carolina classroom.
Now let's go inside.
IBM is helping teachers teach and bring subjects to life with courseware that helps children learn English, math, science, and more.
Looks hot, but it's cold.
Courseware that complements a teacher's curriculum from kindergarten through high school.
Hi, very good.
Avalanche hits Florida elementary school. This is really something, you know?
You should stick around for the moonwalk.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Back here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, both teams have had the past week off. A lot of practice time to try to work on some deficiencies. And Joey Meyer tells us that the first 5 minutes of today's game will be crucial. His team suffering from a lack of confidence. We'll find out if they'll rise to the occasion. Carolina controls the tip. This is King Rice going inside to Scott Williams. And Williams has the middle all to himself this year, Billy.
Excellent pass on the inside. It's obvious, JB, Carolina physically just has so much more strength than does DePaul.
Kevin Holland tried to go inside to David Booth. Chilcutt had it for a second, but whistled for the traveling violation.
We'll see if that inside power that North Carolina has really takes its toll on the boards. And as Joey Meyer said at the top of the show, they have got to bang in some shots early on.
This is Chucky Murphy. And Scott Williams with the rebound. Carolina pushing the ball up the court. Controlled fast break. Good ball movement. Looking for Chilcutt on the inside. Good hands by Kevin Holland.
Good play by Holland on the overplay. He's got good quickness. Last year suffered from the back injury. Not a good feed from the outside. Telegraph.
Good second effort by Chucky Murphy, the former walk-on guard. Joey Meyer, of course, had a depleted guard core, and Murphy walked on and has played relatively well. Booth from the corner.
You notice how North Carolina, as usual, overplaying the forwards and allowing them to go baseline. That plays into Booth's hands a little bit because he's comfortable with a shot down in the baseline.
King Rice, they say he can't hit from the outside. DePaul's basketball. Fair or unfair criticism about King Rice and his outside shooting?
Well, I watched him yesterday, James. He just does not hit the perimeter shot well. He has decent technique, not great, but decent, but he just doesn't get it to go down. Straight man-to-man.
Boom. Rebound, Williams. Out to Kevin Madden.
Chucky Murphy's responsibility, along with Foster, to be back on defense. Everybody was inside the top of the key.
Carolina looks to want an up-tempo game, averaging 82 points a game. Murphy.
Again, Murphy's got to get back. If he gets down in the corner, you can see, JB, there's no defensive balance against the fast break.
Good backdoor. Boom, with the slam.
Backdoor cut is always available against North Carolina because of the strong overplay, and they look to get help from the weak side. Didn't get it that time.
Tie ball game early here, four-piece. Pete Chilcutt getting a lot of defensive pressure from Kevin Holland and Chucky Murphy. Hubert Davis, sophomore guard from Burke, Virginia, comes in, replacing Rick Fox.
Not unusual to see North Carolina substitute in the first 2 minutes of a ball game.
Davis is the nephew of Walter Davis, the former Tar Heel player, current professional player.
Zone out of bounds.
And Williams goes up for the slam and is fouled by David Booth. Interesting that Booth would challenge Scott Williams. Booth, relatively light, is 6'7", 180 pounds.
Excellent jumper last year. He was about 6'6" and weighed about 155 or 160. Said he decided to gain some weight when he got matched up against Kevin Madden in the ball game at the Rosemont Horizon last year, and said it's just time, if he's going to play this game, to get a little stronger.
Kevin Madden goes out, and George Lynch, an impressive freshman, comes in to replace him. 6'7", freshman out of Roanoke, Virginia. This is Scott Williams. Really, I talked about Williams having the middle all to himself this year. Last year had to play out further because of J.R. Reed.
He can handle that, though, JB. You know, he's got a nice shot from the top of the key. He blended nicely with Reed, and as we know, that would have been quite a twosome this year had J.R. stayed on the collegiate rank.
Scott Williams has been doing the job thus far. 4 points, 2 rebounds in the early going. Carolina, 6-4 lead, 17:41 remaining in the first half.
Full court man pressure. There's the switch by Scott Williams.
Murphy gets away with the push.
Be tough for Murphy if he gets caught in a double team to throw over a guy like Williams.
Stephen Howard. Melvon Foster's done a nice job of converting to the guard spot. Former center in high school, and Holland is going to be whistled for traveling.
Right now, I think DePaul's doing a pretty good job staying in their offense. It's one of the things that will be critical against a club like North Carolina that plays so many different defenses and tries to put pressure on you, either full court, three-quarter, or even half.
Very quick breather for Kevin Madden, who's back up off of the bench, George Lynch.
DePaul goes 2-1-2 zone. And force North Carolina to put some shots up from the perimeter.
Hubert Davis has three-point range.
The zone is packing back in around the foul line area.
This is Davis. Rebounded by Howard. Up to Booth. Murphy. Murphy still can't find the mark from the outside. Good hustle on the inside by Melvon Foster, who converts.
JB, there's a point that you just made about Foster converting from a kind of a swing man back to a guard, but he can play inside. He's an excellent leaper. One of the reasons you could probably break on him, he gets caught inside so much, but that time he did an excellent job on the offensive boards.
B.J. Tyler, a very talented freshman from Port Arthur, Texas, in to replace Chucky Murphy, who was having difficulty finding the outside shot.
You know, I watched Joey Meyer as he took Chucky out, but that last shot that Chucky put up was really a good-looking, positive jump shot. And I'm sure Joey told him, keep firing that ball up there, because he looked good on that one, even though he missed. Full court pressure. DePaul did this very well.
DePaul out in front for the first time by 1, 7-6, 16-34. remaining in the half. And Carolina handles the pressure well. Rice over to Davis. And Davis, nice inside move, rebounded by Scott Williams. And Williams really showing the benefit of that off-season weight training program, handling it inside.
Williams had some serious trouble against Georgetown, particularly in the first half with Mutombo and Alonzo Mourning. But you can see here, he's playing above everybody. Goes out of bounds, comes back in underneath, goes way up above everybody to get it, and puts a good, strong shot back up inside before he's fouled.
Foul whistled against Melvin Foster, his first.
Williams was operated on for that shoulder problem he had right after last year, and then came up with a appendix problem this year when he came back, so he missed some of the early games for the Tar Heels, and of course the real important early season conditioning.
Very vital to Carolina's success. Needs to stay out of foul trouble, which he was foul prone last year as he nails both free throws. He's got 6 points on the afternoon, and Carolina retakes the lead by 1.
Stays in that full court man-to-man, looking to jump, switch on.
The book on B.J. Tyler, a lot of raw talent, has a tendency to be very up and down, a little immature right now.
Played very well in their game against Ohio State. Has the talent, just has to learn the game.
Foster off the mark. Carolina on the break. Carolina seems intent to try to get Pete Chilcutt involved in the action. He has yet to score. And we've got an official's timeout here. Carolina on top by 1.
One of the real keys on any team is good floor balance. And here you can see DePaul with Chucky Murphy on the inside along with Melvin Foster. They're right under the basket. Nobody back in the area whatsoever for defensive floor balance. And watch what happens. North Carolina gets the rebound. Nobody down floor. Easy pass from Scott Williams all the way down to Madden. And a layup for 2. High percentage shot there, JB.
And as you saw, Scott Williams triggering that break as Joey Myers' team right now losing the battle at the center position. Scott Williams 6 points and 4 rebounds. Stephen Howard has yet to score and only 1 rebound.
Chucky Murphy makes the next jump shot he takes.
Davis. And a foul whistled inside on Stephen Howard, who was throwing the elbow. Let me set the lineup for you for Carolina's. Matt Wenstrom, George Lynch, Jeff Denny, Rick Fox, and Hubert Davis.
This is almost a return to the days when Dean Smith had the big blue team. Put 5 fellas out there in the first half that didn't get much playing time. A little different here because obviously Fox is a starter out there. Back to the 2-1-2 zone.
Denny is supposed to be an outside threat, has yet to find the mark this year, shooting only 37% from the floor. This is Denny, and Denny hits the 3. Good way to start off.
His percentage has been way down this year, but he's got excellent fundamentals on that jump shot. North Carolina going man-to-man. DePaul looking to step out and go back door.
Haven't seen DePaul's big men go aggressively at the Bulls, Billy.
Well, they haven't been able to get the ball down inside so far. They're playing a 1-4 out pretty high, and therefore nobody down in the low post except David Booth when he cuts through.
And a foul whistled against Matt Wenstrom. First foul of the game for him, a 7-foot freshman from Katy, Texas. Basically seen as a project player, Billy. They think maybe in a couple of 3 years he should develop into something.
Well, he has the size. Yesterday watching him in practice, he has excellent work ethic, moves very well with his feet. That's a nice combination, tall and move well.
Particularly with the feet.
That's right. See, there's the 1-4 offense, up high.
Chucky Murphy back at the point guard position for DePaul. Booth.
Good elevation on that jump shot.
Hard to believe he's actually gained 15 pounds from last year. And Melvin Foster, the fans thought that it was actually Melvin Foster.
Denny didn't get there in time, picks up the foul. Both teams pressing very well so far in this ball game.
Number 1 on Jeff Denny. Carolina leads it 11-9.
Good look.
Charles Sowell on the inside had his shot blocked from behind by Matt Wenstrom, and it looks to have been clean. coming for him from nearby Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Played with Robert Brickey in high school. Joey Meyer trying some new things here. You know, you've got a man with a big body. Get him in the ball game early. See what he can do.
And the thinking there as well, he's played well whenever he's had relatives looking on, so they're hoping to get an inspired performance from Charles Sowell. This is Booth. Lynch with the rebound for Carolina.
Tough shot to turn counterclockwise.
Wingstrom.
Good block by Sowell.
So Chucky Murphy, as you mentioned, perhaps talked to by Joey Meyer on the bench, back in the action now. This is Murphy.
I was wrong. I said he hit his next gun.
Well, the thing about it, Billy, he's taking good shots. They just aren't falling.
Well, he looks like he's playing confidently out there. When they're not falling, you want to make sure you take a little better one than that one. That was kind of a lean in from a short distance, and that really is a tough shot for a guy his size among the trees.
King Rice, Kevin Madden, and Scott Williams back in the action for Carolina. So the five will be Rick Fox, Rice, Williams, Madden,
and you can
and
see
George Lynch.
You can see the intention of Dean Smith to play a lot of people, maybe wear this DePaul team down, which is extremely young here early going.
DePaul does have a good bench. They're just young. And an alley-oop to Kevin Madden from Rick Fox.
North Carolina did a good job getting back on defense that time because the hit-ahead pass to Booth was a good one. He was open, but nobody was under the basket.
Carolina has improved its shooting percentage from 40 early on to 44, and this is King Rice.
On the trip. Williams on a trip. Otherwise, Carolina has an easy layup. This is a good backdoor cut by Kevin Madden, but, you know, you can make all the backdoor cuts in the world. If you can't get up there above that rim and dunk it through, it doesn't help you much, but very well played, and Kevin, a very explosive leaper.
At 6'6", 230, he really can throw that body around nicely. Foster. So Melvon Foster cutting strong to the hoop. That's the kind of aggressiveness I was talking about that the DePaul forwards have not shown. Comes away with the foul.
Well, the offense that Joey Meyer has devised for this game is a good one to play against North Carolina with all their trapping. Bringing their defensive team all the way up above the foul line allows for a lot of cuts to the basket in behind and not much weak side help available there to stop you.
Not a bad tactic on DePaul's part if they can get Scott Williams in foul trouble. He's picked up his second. Foster misses the first. Foster was actually a center in high school, and as you and I have mentioned, has made the transition to both the #1 and #2 guard positions. Well, that's why he goes so aggressively to the boards.
And goes to the foul line often for the minutes that he's played. Doesn't hit either one.
And DePaul trails 13-9. 13:08 remaining in the first half.
Hand check.
Chucky Murphy.
Now Murphy's going to have some problems with Rice that far out in regard to the physical structure that Rice has. He's just too powerful for him.
Second personal on Chucky Murphy, 5th team foul.
You say King Rice outweighs him 20 pounds maybe? So everybody knows he was an excellent football player in high school in his early years.
Now the backboard saved King Rice that time, who really didn't wait to see Scott Williams get set before attempting that lob.
You know, another thing about a man that's a good lob passer who plays out on the point guard, it really helps if he's also a good shooter because that brings the defense out a lot higher. He's going to have a hard time throwing lob passes for the simple reason the defense packs away from him.
Terry Davis, a freshman, replaces Melvon Foster. And, of course, one of college basketball's all-time best alley-oop passers, Sherman Douglas.
Exactly, because you had to play Sherman honestly, plus you had to play him tight, and he knew how to penetrate by it if you played too tight.
Pass from Rice to Matt.
Now you see what King Rice did that time. Penetrated on inside the top of the key. Shortened up the passing distance a great deal. Much more effective. Nice move.
Rebounded by Booth. Howard. So Stephen Howard stays with it.
Howard has worked himself into the starting lineup, not getting back on defense again, however. But watch the difference on this alley-oop. Because King Rice puts the ball on the floor and makes the defense come to him, he has a much better lane to throw the ball up there because there's nobody staying all the way back on Madden. Plus, there was a nice screen set that time by Scott Williams.
Good eye contact and communication between Rice and Madden. George Lynch drew the foul from Stephen Howard, who picks up his second personal foul. 16 foul. And boy, is Dean Smith really impressed with this find here in George Lynch.
JB, I know you were talking about him earlier, saw him play in high school, and he showed then he belonged on the major college level, didn't he?
Rugged basketball player indeed. Made an excellent 1-2 combination with Aaron Bain, who went on to Villanova as a freshman. Lynch misses the second. DePaul with the rebound. So the guard combination, Terry Davis and Chucky Murphy. David Booth, James Hamby at 7 feet is in, along with Kevin Holland for DePaul.
Oh, what a screen.
And George Lynch will be caught for the foul as he tried to go over the back of Kevin Holland.
Great screen by Holland. You know, basketball, it's not a foul if you have contact. In that particular case, Holland created some contact with Fox. Setting a great screen on Rick Fox, and it's a legitimate screen even though contact is committed. You watch him come over, he sets the screen, plants himself, frees up Davis. A good switch that time by King Rice. A good no call by the official. Legitimate play.
Speaking of officials, we have a split crew today. 2 from the Missouri Valley Conference and 1 from the ACC. 11:50 remaining in the first half. Carolina on top by 5, 16-11, and a turnover by DePaul. Up ahead to Chilcutt. Yet to score his first basket.
Nice hands. Now, what Chucky Murphy has to recognize is when Carolina is going to double team, particularly with a big man, he has to fight through that double team to keep his dribble alive, because he just can't throw over the top of him.
And Booth nails it. So DePaul finally hits 2 of their last 7 shots. 8 points for David Booth. Madden on the inside plays a lot taller than his 6'6" frame, and there's an indication.
As I said, he's only averaging 10 points a game, JB. This fella's capable of being a 20-point-per-game scorer. Something that North Carolina doesn't have in their history very often, but they need somebody to step forward this year.
He's 2 points away from his average. He's got 8 on the afternoon. Booth with the rainbow. Rebounded by Davis. Make that Melvon Foster. And Williams with the rebound.
DePaul, despite their size, really going to the offensive boards well.
Scott Williams playing just a tad bit more tentative right now. He's got 2 personal fouls trying to keep from picking up that third.
There's that 2-3 zone again. North Carolina wanting to go inside. Good hustle.
And Chucky Murphy saves it with good hustle near the Carolina bench. DePaul still struggling overall from the field.
Hamby will have a hard time making that backdoor pass.
Kevin Madden attempted to save it and apparently was on the out-of-bounds line.
A smart play, though, by Kevin Madden. When he goes out of bounds to try to make this play, watch where he throws the ball. Not back under the basket. He tries to send it up court so that even if it's picked off by DePaul, they can't score off of that immediate play. Very good, smart move by Kevin.
Henrik Rodel in for Carolina. This is Stephen Howard just off the bench, and he scores. So Stephen Howard and Durrell Cunningham have come in for the DePaul Blue Demons. And they are in the zone defense.
They are in the zone. Cunningham out front can afford to pack way back in there because he's got good size.
King Rice, good pass to Chilcutt. And a follow by George Lynch.
Lynch, Madden, Fox, all extremely powerful and quick leapers on the inside.
It's been that kind of play that has the fans here in Tar Heel country excited about George Lynch. And Kevin Holland loses it out of bounds.
A lot of good things happen here. Chilcutt throws the ball over the basket. You notice he was looking to pass, not to shoot, and I think he took his eye off it. But Lynch, who really showed me so much in that Georgetown encounter, he has a nose for the ball.
Well, if Chilcutt wasn't looking to shoot, he'll agree with you.
But, you know, when you miss them that bad, you always say they were a pass.
Melvon Foster nails it from the corner. 5 points for him. DePaul has cut the Carolina lead to 3. Rice. Better score inside.
But if you know he's going to drive, why go for the pump fake on the outside? If he's going to pump fake it, let him keep pump faking until he shows he's going to put up a jumper.
Murphy gets away with the walk, but not with the bad pass. 4th turnover. And the foul down in the paint. Looks like it may be Stephen Howard.
Foul is on Stephen Howard.
Joey Meyer in his 6th year at DePaul. 5 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances, 1 shy of the record set by.
That's right, Freddie Schaus, the great coach at West Virginia, went 6 years in a row.
Joey is hopeful that he can tie it with 6. He's got a long ways to go.
Dean Smith, one of the great innovators in the history of college basketball, any basketball for that matter. You see when his head opens up, you've got the 4 corners coming out of there. A great stall, and which was an offensive weapon that they used. The jump switch or the run and jump, the great switching defenses that he's improvised here. The point zone, which kept pressure on the ball and safety on the backside. You see the blue team was a group of players that came off the bench in the first half and played extremely well. And the huddle, a way to get the defensive things organized while the other team was shooting their free throws. There's so many things he has brought to the game.
When you see those innovations, Billy, it's hard to believe that after 29 years, he says he's still learning on the job. And Pete Chilcutt with his first point of the afternoon comes at the 8:52 mark. And no question, many say, the Carolina fans, that he would have to develop a solid inside game in order for Carolina to be effective.
Expect that press. The ball does a very good job setting up to get that ball in bounds. They worked on it yesterday in practice. So far, they have handled it well.
Chilcutt's second free throw gives Carolina its biggest lead of the afternoon, 24-17, with 8:39 remaining in the first half. And yet another DePaul turnover as Burl Cunningham throws that one away for number 5.
Joey Meyer a little upset. He had his ball club playing exactly where he wanted them as far as where they were deployed on the floor. But then when the double team came, Cunningham, who was just a freshman, really wasn't ready for it.
And Cunningham takes a seat on the bench. So it's Murphy, Melvon Foster, David Booth, Charles Sowell, and Kevin Holland in for DePaul. This is Denny for Carolina, 3. 6 points on the afternoon for Jeff Denny.
You may be seeing a lot more of Denny coming in for that particular purpose of putting up that 3-point shot.
And the foul will be whistled against Lynch.
He came from behind and was way above the basket. He feels he had a good block with both hands. Excellent lob pass. You can see George Lynch coming from the backside. Without question, he had 2 hands on the ball, but did he hit him with his body underneath? And I think that's what the official called.
On the playground, they would have let that one go.
Well, they'd have clapped hands on the playground. And those that weren't in the game would have said, yeah.
Second personal foul on George Lynch, 7 for the team. And the referees are checking the scoreboard, which has gone completely blank.
Now maybe the scoreboard keeper didn't like the call either.
One of the benefits of playing at home, huh?
Now you figure in a $32 million facility, you could get a clock that would work, right?
And of that figure you were talking about, not one shovel was turned until the money was all raised.
In the bank.
Near the conclusion of today's game, we will select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet donates a $1,000 scholarship to the general scholarship fund of each school. And we're certainly glad to have Chevrolet on board again, as they have been with us throughout the college basketball seasons. So while the officials try to get things back under control with the scoreboard, we'll take a break with Carolina leading by 10.
Chevy S10 four-wheel drive pickups take on the four-wheel drive Ford Ranger in off-road power. Chevy charges ahead with the biggest standard engine in its class, the 4.3-liter Vortec V6. 2 more cylinders than Ford's standard engine, 2 more liters than Ford, and 60 more horsepower than Ford. Sure, Chevy has an unfair advantage, but Chevy S10 drivers have known that all along. Nobody's winning like the heartbeat of America.
Today's truck is Chevrolet.
No tough sinus cold is going to sideline these guys. Congestion, pressure, maximum strength Tristan is tougher to sweep away congestion, pressure, and pain. And it won't make you drowsy. When you can't call in sick, call on Tristan.
Many men have sensitive skin that's irritated by shaving. Aftershave skin conditioner is clinically proven to soothe and relieve razor-scraped skin. Sensible care for sensitive skin. After.
By Menon.
When Kathy started rehearsing, she went through a lot of changes. She changed her moves, her look, her timings. But in 34 days, she never had to change the batteries in her cassette player. Now Kodak batteries have been improved, so you can depend on us to last longer.
And here's the best thing to happen to your camera since Kodak film. Kodak Photolife batteries.
Well, on our way back to North Carolina, Brent Musburger in New York with a reminder. Coming up at halftime, we're going to have the latest sports news, scores, and highlights. And we're going to talk live with North Carolina State coach Jim Valvano, whose team was put on probation this week. Right now, let's send you back to the game.
JB, when you look at Kevin Holland on the line to shoot some free throws, we had, I guess, some collegiate basketball history made this week. Scott Burrell up in Connecticut fouled out of the game with 6 fouls. So, you know, with the Big East new experimental situation, he becomes the first player, to my knowledge, in the history of college basketball to get his 6 and sit down.
As Kevin Holland sinks the first, I know you have some pretty strong feelings on the 6-foul rule. Do you think it's needed or not?
Well, I haven't found a lot of people talking that much about it, to be quite honest with you. So the other day, I'm talking to Ray Meyer, and he told me back in his early days of coaching that you only got 4 fouls in the game. So things have not been etched in concrete that it's always been 5 fouls.
Well, as Carolina have been working hard to try to get Pete Chilcutt some shots, they need to do the same for Rick Fox, who has yet to score, and he's the team's leading scorer. And Fox tries to feed Chilcutt on the inside, and he's fouled. College basketball here on CBS, coming to you from the Dean Dome here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. James Brown along with Billy Packer, and Scott Williams has been leading the way early on for the Carolina Tar Heels, and Carolina trying to get some scoring from Chilcutt and Fox.
Well, looking inside, Chilcutt had the defender on his back. Pete showing very good technique here on his free throw shot. On this particular club, if you look at players that really could have big nights, Williams could without question. Fox could be a big scorer. And in my estimation, Madden is the guy that's got to be the big scorer for him.
Scott Williams comes in to replace Pete Chilcutt. Keep in mind that Scott Williams has 2 personal fouls. 7:54 remaining in the first half. Carolina on top 29-18. And Rick Fox is going to be whistled for the foul as Terry Davis is hit with the body.
Davis pulled up early on that one, JB. I thought he had a lane to go ahead and drive it right into the basket. Terry really having a hard time shooting so far this year, shooting 32% from the field, and 3-pointers about 26%, but he does have a good-looking shot. He's got a good athletic body on him, and I think in time you're going to see him get a lot more playing time at DePaul.
And that's been part of the problem for Joey Myers. Says the team is so young. Davis, just a freshman, that he's also searching for some leadership. Davis misses the second. And good hustle by David Booth. Foster back to Booth. So DePaul with a heads-up play by Melvon Foster gets the ball back. Down by 10, Booth. Good move, couldn't convert so well. Gets it from Carolina.
Nice heads-up play, getting it back outside instead of forcing things back inside. You notice how Booth likes the fact that Carolina forces you to go baseline. He feels comfortable down there to go up and shoot that jumper of his.
Not afraid to mix it up despite his slim size. And DePaul yet to convert on 3 opportunities down at that end, as the big fella, Scott Williams, shows his ball handling ability.
Fans getting a little impatient. They want to see some scoring, but you can see where DePaul is dropping back. Foster at the point of that zone's all the way under the basket.
Rice. Tapped in by Kevin Madden.
Might not be a bad idea to tell King Rice just to put it up on the boards the way they've got it right now. Madden, Williams, Lynch, and Fox could go get it.
Madden wouldn't complain. 10 points on the afternoon in Carolina's biggest lead at 31-19. So well over to Booth.
Got to get that one to drop.
Really, as big as Sowell is, as strong a body as he has, why not just go in and slam one?
Yeah, put it on the floor and go in there. Do you notice Kevin Madden on that play tried to use that top hand? You know, that stuff Summerall talks about? Or what was that, top spin forehand? He couldn't get the ball to spin back in bounds, but he tried to do the same thing that the tennis players do without a racket.
George Lynch takes a seat on the bench. Pete Chilcutt back in for him in Carolina.
Here comes the trap.
Foster. Over to Sowell, who's called for travel. Now, might have been a case of overpassing.
And at least he did take it to the hoop that time. Boy, DePaul really struggling to try to score.
4 of their last 13 from the field, DePaul.
Shooting right at 31%. Nice left hand by Pete Chilcutt. Right now, Joey's got to get a basket here or think timeout.
6 points on the afternoon for Chilcutt, who started very slowly.
Got Madden on Booth. They'd like to get the ball to Booth one time.
And Foster can't find the mark in Carolina on the boards again. This is Rice.
Big break that time for DePaul. Not the play that Dean Smith wanted. Much easier pass available on the break, 2-on-1.
Dean Smith is definitely one for fundamental play.
King Rice kicked it right off the back of his foot. And he had an easy 2-on-1 just to dump back behind him, and he had a layup.
And as soon as King Rice threw that pass, Dean Smith was up off the bench and got a substitute in for him. Hubert Davis into the game, as well as Jeff Denny.
One thing I will say about him, I think that he was coming out of the game anyway. Because normally, Coach Smith doesn't take a guy out of the game when he makes a mistake. Bill Hepner in the game now.
And Booth called for traveling.
Booth realizes that they've got to score somewhere, and he's the man that can do it.
Turnover number 7 for DePaul as George Lynch comes in for Carolina, replacing Rick Fox. Carolina on a 13-2 run the last 4 minutes, have expanded the lead to 33-19 with 5:10 remaining in the first half.
Notice with Denny in the game, DePaul goes man-to-man. Whenever they get Rice out of there, they get out of that zone.
Lob pass attempted by Denny to Scott Williams.
Nice job by Hepner, who was recruited as a high school All-American. Everybody thought that he showed great promise, but so far has not been able to get things going for himself at DePaul.
And Kevin Madden comes in to replace George Lynch. Lineup for DePaul is David Booth, Charles Sowell, Bill Hepner, Melvon Foster, and Chucky Murphy.
Nice defense by Murphy.
Williams on a strong move to the hoop is fouled by Charles Sowell.
Chucky Murphy was given the backdoor fake by Jeff Denny. He did a good job staying with him and then tried to help double team inside, but Williams just too big.
Williams on the line. Both teams in a penalty situation.
2 shots. And Joey's struggling.
And he was very, very candid about that. A little too much, perhaps.
Well, yesterday in practice, I thought that he tried to create an intensity level for his team, realizing when you play at North Carolina, you're going to face a lot of pressure. And the team really didn't respond to that. And maybe because they're so young, and it's tough. You know, they put 2 first-rounders into the NBA 2 years ago, then had Grundy and Green last year that represented 44% of their offense. They move on to better things. In fact, I saw where Terrence Green got cut from the CBA, but then thought about playing professional football. So he has had a lot of outstanding senior leadership or veteran leadership the last few years. It just doesn't have it with this club.
James Hamby, a 7-foot senior, in a ball game for DePaul, having replaced Charles Sowell as Booth goes up. And DePaul getting good shots, they just won't drop. Good defensive alertness by Chucky Murphy.
What Murphy's got to understand is that he can't be counted on to rebound. He's got to get back a little better defensive balance position. And North Carolina's going to go long on him often.
You talked about the graduation losses of DePaul. They've also been affected by injuries.
Very much so.
Curtis Price and Brad Neiman.
Right. Price, their best athlete, Neiman, their best shooter.
DePaul has missed their last 6 shots, Billy. Cannot find the mark. Chilcutt. Rebounded by Hamby.
Well, the one thing saving DePaul is that North Carolina's not exactly setting it on fire from with their shot selection either.
This is Hamby.
He walked. You know, we're looking at a team whose program ended up in 1980, 81, 82, number 1, 2 in the nation in the final polls. And right now, they're going to start the 90s in a struggling position. Maybe the next first-round draft choice they have is in high school.
May very well be.
That's right. And they have recruited an outstanding one, Brennan Cole.
George Lynch comes back to help King Rice. 3:35 remaining in the first half. Carolina on top, 33-19. Only the 3rd meeting between these two teams. Series tied at 1 apiece as Kevin Madden goes in and has his shot blocked. This is B.J. Tyler up to Booth.
Who's still firing, it just won't go for him. He's starting to feel the pressure now.
7 shots in a row missed by the Blue Demons.
Nice lead.
Hepler. In a row missed by Melvin Foster. So DePaul has gone 6 minutes without a field goal. And Billy, with that, lucky to be trailing only 33-19.
Yeah, as I said, North Carolina not exactly setting it on fire. And you know how frustrating this has to be to Joey Meyer. He's got to find somebody who can put it in the basket for him. They're getting some decent shots.
And Joey going to the bench in search of that. Durrell Cunningham in. Lynch, double clutches. Rebounded by Kevin Holland.
North Carolina continually going inside. Everything packed in there, so it's making those shots rather tough to get off.
For the game, DePaul shooting only 29% from the floor. Tyler passes into Melvin Foster. And Foster off the mark. Hamby.
There it is.
Tapped in by Durrell Cunningham. Kevin Holland was up there as well.
Good touch pass. Chilcutt. Nice job by Rick Fox. Seeing the whole floor. I watched the drill Jim Valdano uses where they run up and down the court and the managers and coaches pass to the players, keeping them alert to see the whole court at all times. And here's where Rick Fox, although they don't use that drill at North Carolina, basically did the same thing. You notice as he was catching the ball, he recognized where Chilcutt was so that he could make the good touch pass on the play. We'll see it right there again. Good fundamental play.
Well, that's the kind of cohesiveness Dean Smith said his team has been lacking because of the travel schedule, Billy. 8 games in 18 days and over 13,000 miles traveled.
Well, they return home one night after the Alabama game at 4 a.m. They go from the Meadowlands out to Iowa, and they can't find their uniforms. They just arrived 3 hours before the game, so needs to be another one of those book Seasons on the Brink, I think. Maybe we get Feinstein to follow them. It sounds like they have a lot of interesting stories.
Dean Smith, not one known to exaggerate, said he expected his team to come out and play much better today because of that week of practice. As Hubert Davis nails his 2 free throws. Kevin Madden comes in to replace Hubert Davis. We talked about that travel schedule that Carolina has had in 18 days. Take a look at it.
I think it's illegal in the NCAA for players to get frequent flyer miles, so I hope they're checking on it.
They ought to save them in some type of bank and give them to the players when they graduate. B.J. Tyler, Earl Cunningham, Kevin Holland, James Hamby, and Melvon Foster, the starting 5 in for DePaul. As Carolina kicks it out of bounds.
There's a case where Cunningham, just a freshman, doesn't understand you don't take the ball on the baseline against a double team. No place to go when you're in there and no passing lane to get it out.
George Lynch out. Hubert Davis in. And Foster starting to make the move before he caught the ball, turns it over. 9 turnovers for DePaul. King Rice with an outside here. DePaul on the break. And James Hamby with the left-handed ability. I think DePaul ought to run more.
Well, that's a good point, JB, because it would open up some shooting opportunities, 2-on-1, 3-on-2 types.
As opposed to having to work hard for a shot out of the set offense. Under a minute to play in the first half. Carolina on top by 14. And Hubert Davis is fouled by Kevin Holland. His second personal foul. Tomorrow on the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern Time, Brent, Irv, Dick, and Will with the latest news and information. And Irv Cross will also have the story of how the city of Cleveland is standing up to Sam Weich's put down as Minnesota heads into Cleveland for a big playoff showdown. Green Bay at Chicago and Tampa Bay at Detroit. That's coming your way tomorrow right here on CBS. The late game, Washington playing the Atlanta Falcons down in Atlanta.
North Carolina doing a good job from the free throw line today.
Hubert Davis didn't come out of Lake Braddock High School with an awfully big national reputation, but very quietly effective in a number of areas. And Davis is replaced by Jeff Denny.
Davis was supposed to be a wide receiver in football. It doesn't look like he has that kind of strength. Here comes the trap.
He was a good one. Very smart player. Game clock showing 32 seconds. Shot clock 27. Holland.
Not a good shot.
Frustration shot. 3-on-2. Fox misses. And Holland with the rebound.
But good hustle.
B.J. Tyler. Pass to Cunningham. Holland.
Oh, Holland is working so hard. He's so frustrated out there.
You like his effort?
Yes, I sure do.
Rick Fox with the turnover.
And Holland was back down, all the way back down the court again. I mean, that's just tremendous effort.
Leadership by example. Coming up at halftime, on the road to the Final Four. Brent Musburger will be in the studio with all the scores and highlights from a busy day in sports. And Jim Valvano will join us live from Raleigh to talk about NC State's recent placement on probation. Valvano will be talking with Brent Musburger in our New York studio. That's coming up at halftime.
James, we saw Cunningham sitting on the bench. He made his first shot as a collegian. Very first shot that he took, and he has now missed 17 straight since then. So he's 1 for 18.
Tyler up in there.
What?
As Holland throws it up at the buzzer. DePaul hit 2 of their last 16 shots from the field and trail 39-23. CBS Sports coverage of NCAA basketball will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
Well, I think we have reestablished contact now with Jimmy Valvano, the coach of North Carolina State. And Jimmy, as I was saying, what was the reaction of the youngsters on the team when they learned that they could not participate in the tournament?
Well, obviously, there was great disappointment. The tournament is so much a part of our season. It's a focal point for our program, and really disappointed for our seniors. By the same token, we do feel that the NCAA dealt with us very fairly and very equitably. We accept the punishment. We'd like to move on.
Jimmy, did you know what was going on with the misuse of sneakers and tickets?
No, as I say, on the one hand, I will never separate myself from responsibility and accountability. I was both the coach and the athletic director. On the other hand, it was, at least I was happy that the NCAA did announce that there were no coaches who were in violation, and then said specifically that I was not in violation of any NCAA rules or regulations. So that doesn't diminish the violation, nor does it free me from accountability and responsibility. I accept that.
Jimmy, has the school taken any chances with youngsters from an academic standpoint? Have some of your players in the past gone there who really should not have been in college at all?
You know, Brent, being blessed now with hindsight as opposed to years ago with maybe proper foresight, I think when hindsight always being 20/20, you take a look and you say, okay, there's a youngster that maybe we made a mistake on, I made a mistake on. By the same token, when you look at it, it's not an exact science. You'll see a couple of transcripts and backgrounds, and here's a young man who you think you take a chance on, and he makes it, and here's one you think's a sure thing and doesn't. But certainly, not to evade that question, sure, I've made some mistakes in that area. And again, that comes with perfect vision looking backward, and hopefully I'll do a much better job in the future because I have to.
How do you stop it in the future, especially abuse of tickets and somebody cutting corners academically?
Well, two different questions. The violations of tickets and shoes, we think we've implemented a program which will be surefire. For example, shoes, we'll give you one pair. You don't get another pair until you give us that one back. As far as tickets, we've really put in an extensive program to check who gets a ticket. We've also eliminated the wild card. If there's no wild card ticket, it's much easier to control. The academic question, we think that we have moved along with every increase in standards. For example, before Proposition 48, we did have players who below that standard. When Proposition 48 entered, we have no player on our basketball team who is below that standard. That with an increase in our own state of North Carolina in some standards for all graduates of high school to enter, with, I'd like to think, a very close relationship with admissions and with our academic skills and the Chancellor's office, and hopefully we will do a better job. It's also incumbent upon me to make sure I bring the type of student-athlete, knowing the background better than any admissions man would, to ensure that that doesn't happen again.
And finally, quickly here before we join the second half, Jimmy, what about your future? Are you going to stay, or are you thinking about leaving now?
Well, NC State gave me the opportunity in 1983 to realize a dream which up until that point was only a dream. I've got great loyalty to this institution, and I said 11 months ago that if I was part of that problem, I want to be part of the solution. And I feel exactly the same way now.
All right, Jimmy, thank you for being with us. Good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you, Brent.
All right, we go from Jim Valvano now to second half of the DePaul, North Carolina game. Let's send you back to J.B. and Billy Packer. J.B.?
All right, Brent, thank you very much. And Billy, commenting on that interview with Jim Valvano and Brent Musburger, I just hope that the abuse by a few doesn't hurt the many good students who are out there. And it really kind of bothers me when I know that there are some marginal students out there who deserve an opportunity at a college education who may be unfairly tainted by, again, the abuse of a few. All right.
A pass.
I like your comment. All right, let's talk a little bit about today's game, then. Again, DePaul came into the game on the season shooting only 38% on the year. They're struggling again, 28%. And as far as free throws, they haven't been getting to the free throw line.
Well, they're not shooting well, which is obvious. They're trying to struggle a little bit by taking jumpers, and maybe some shot selection hurt. When you take bad shots, JB, you don't get to the foul line. They have not gone inside at all, and that takes you away from getting on the foul line. And as you can see, North Carolina shooting very well from the free throw line and going inside well today, constantly pounding it in there.
Carolina doing the job as far as backcourt scoring, although King Rice hasn't been effective from the outside.
Well, Denny came in, did a good job there, and you see Madden, who's right at his average, 10 points. Booth with 8. Booth has to keep putting it up even if it's not going in for him.
The 23 points scored in the first half by DePaul represent the fewest points scored in the first half this year. Carolina leading at 39-23. And we open up the second half. Melvon Foster, Chucky Murphy, David Booth, Stephen Howard, and Kevin Holland for DePaul.
There's a ball inside. Good block by Chilcutt. But it was a good look inside. There was good spacing there. Howard is supposed to make that shot. Got to take it up strong, anticipate you're going to get some body contact.
Gotta like the aggressiveness you saw in the first half of both Holland and Melvon Foster, although much didn't fall.
Had a bad matchup there. Williams was on Murphy, but they just couldn't shake loose. Good fake.
Gets his own rebound. Howard. And the shooting woes for DePaul just continue. King Rice, Kevin Madden, Rick Fox, Pete Chilcutt, and Scott Williams, the 5 for Carolina.
Good hands that time. Ball was hit off of Williams.
Williams on the inside in the first few minutes of the contest, and he's opening up in the second half, scoring in the paint.
Just good hands. Scott Williams on the inside. Shows the ball, turns inside, uses his body extremely well. Puts it inside. Will obviously be an NBA prospect, probably a first-round draft choice with his body. Remember a few years ago, I think it was John Thompson felt that Scott Williams would be the starting center on the Olympic team in 1988 when he was back just as a freshman. Didn't work out that way, but still has some talent.
Says a lot about his potential as Pete Chilcutt comes away with the steal but misses the layup. And Chilcutt tips this one out of bounds. Scott Williams was fouled on that play a couple of sequences ago by Kevin Holland, his third personal foul. And Carolina has moved out to its biggest lead of the ball game, 42-23. Joey Meyer looking and searching for answers. And the holiday feeling is in evidence in downtown Chapel Hill, and right now the Tar Heels out in front of the Blue Devils make that the Blue Demons 42-23. And during that last timeout, Joey Meyer was really ripping into his team, Billy, but the question is, will the shock treatment work?
It's an awful young team, and there are no answers that are in any kind of book you can page to and say, this is how I should handle my basketball team. They're young, and I think Joey right now himself is trying to reach to find out what will turn his club on.
Carolina pressing out high, now drops back.
Second time Holland has thrown a bounce pass in the backcourt. That'll eventually get you in trouble.
Howard. The last couple of Howard's shots have been right on the rim, but just won't drop.
Well, you know, he's arching his back backwards. You notice that, JB? And therefore, you don't get that good touch. Normally, you've got to be moving towards the basket a little bit. Where they're going inside, inside, inside.
Chilcutt.
And he's taking some tough shots on turnaround jumpers as well.
Howard stripped by Fox.
Good steal.
Madden stripped by Chunky Murphy. Although Carolina is struggling at a 4-4 mark right now, they certainly have not shied away from the competition.
They really haven't, and you've seen Georgetown at the top there and Iowa down at the bottom. Both held North Carolina under 40% from the field.
Of course, Georgetown and Missouri in the top 5. Alabama, the loss there to a team that hadn't lost at home in 2 years, as Kevin Madden misses the slam dunk off of the alley-oop.
Tried to put a little extra juice in that one. He had a nice, easy drop in. You'll see it right here. Kevin tries to finish off a little strong, and with a little less power, probably would have had an easy basket.
Back in Washington, we call that little extra kick the inner high point.
Back court. Hamby had 1 foot in the front court, 1 in the back court. Even though Holland was the man that caught it, Hamby had a hand on the ball as well.
Turnover number 13 for DePaul.
Again, Chucky Murphy picking up the dribble and getting the double team, and he's too small to throw it over the top of the double team and threw that lob pass. Coach is kind of conferring here as to what happened. You see, there he is. Murphy's picked up his dribble. He's got to keep it alive. He throws there, both players touching the ball, and you can see Hamby's foot in the backcourt.
Looking for Rick Fox. And Fox is hammered by Holland. And as we mentioned, Rick Fox, the team's leading scorer, did not score at all in the first half. 4th personal foul on Holland.
JB, we said at the top of the show, this is a game that North Carolina has to win. They obviously are going to do that. But in my estimation, I don't see, by going inside all the time, how they've solved their problem against a team that would have at least equal talent. They still haven't shown today that they have a perimeter game at all. It's been bang inside, bang inside. They can do this against the DePaul, but against the type of opponents that they've played so far, those major opponents, you're not going to get that easy basket inside so consistently.
Well, Dean Smith and his staff have tried to deflect some of the criticism from King Rice, saying it's not just him who needs to score from the outside, but he needs to get some help from the rest of the team.
Well, you know, the old-time shot chart that you have that you show the floor, most of what we've seen offensively from North Carolina today has been inside 12 feet. And against clubs like the Georgetowns and the Syracuses and the Missouris, you don't get those shots.
Well, one of the things we haven't talked about is how Carolina was hurt and affected in the backcourt by a player they did not get in the recruiting war.
Kenny Anderson. And, of course, the year before, Kenny Williams that they thought they had, it would have been an outstanding front court player. Left hand, he should be able to hit that one.
And Howard stays with it and gets the tip in. Only 6 points on the afternoon for Stephen Howard, who's averaging 13 on the year.
Howard had the left hand, came right across the lane, and opted to make a tougher shot out of what could have been an easy jumper.
King Rice refusing to take the outside shot and driving into heavy traffic.
Again, down inside 12 feet.
Elvon Foster back to Booth. And Booth, you like the fact that this guy, although only 180 pounds, takes it to the board.
Everybody reluctant to take the jumper. Since that timeout by Joey Meyer, his club has really they've really come out and playing hard-nosed ball.
And DePaul falling asleep, unaware that Scott Williams is capable of nailing that corner shot.
You could see two players, Chilcutt and Madden, raising their fist, which is the signal for Dean Smith to take him out. One of those innovative approaches that we talked about earlier in the show. Now, Hamby doesn't need to be handling the ball out there.
46-27 Carolina lead with 16 minutes remaining in the contest. Hamby, that's where he belongs.
Little mismatch.
4 points for the 7-footer.
That's 3 times down the floor that DePaul's got something on the boards.
And Billy, I still maintain if DePaul were to pick up the tempo and run it up and down the court, get some easy baskets, it would make it a lot easier. Fox has his shot blocked. Murphy.
4 straight scores.
And again, the up-tempo working well for DePaul when they can get it going.
Now, I don't know why Chucky Murphy is playing King Rice out so high. The only place he can beat you is taking you down off the dribble. You might as well meet him at the top of the key.
That's adrenaline working on him as opposed to awareness.
He's got the good jumper from there. The entire coaching staff working hard. You know, Joey was at one point 2 years ago 10-9, and they won 11 of their last 14 to qualify for the NCAA tournament. Not only has he qualified teams for the tournaments for 5 straight years, but they've won at least 1 ball game.
Well, he's got a challenge before him this year.
Good point, Jason. If he does it this year, he'll be up for some coaching awards.
Elvon Foster takes a seat on the bench as Terry Davis comes in for the Blue Demons.
Even in man-to-man, DePaul's down inside 15 feet defensively.
Williams off the mark, and James Hanby, that's where the coaching staff feels he's best defensively on the inside against the big men. And Booth loses the ball off of his foot. Turnover number 14. Now DePaul averaging 19 turnovers through 8 games. 14 thus far with 14 minutes remaining in the contest.
Had 31 turnovers against UNLV, a team that plays aggressive man-to-man defense. Good defense
by Stephen Howard, who comes away with the loose ball.
Referee had his back turned, never saw the play. Howard walked.
Got away with it. DePaul on an 8-2 run the last 2.5 minutes of this game.
Well, when Hamby steps outside, it's excitement.
Not the kind of Joey Meyer wants. As Terry Davis scrambles, DePaul comes up with it. Booth to the basket.
Offensive. He used his arm on the spin.
Second personal on David Booth.
We'll see what happens right here by David Booth. He'll use his arm to clear out on the push. No question about the foul.
Good call, because my question was, I didn't think he was big enough to push anybody over.
Well, that's the man that he said taught him to that he was going to have to gain some weight, Kevin Madden. So a year later, he knocks Madden to the floor. Little acting job there. Talking about knocking somebody to the floor. How about Derek Coleman gets in a little fracas up at Syracuse, and he gets in a fracas with the lead nose guard on the football team, 6'2", 270. Basketball players have changed.
As Jeff Denny nails a three. Check that. Henrik Roeder. Three-pointer for Carolina.
Here comes the run and jump. Murphy too small to pick up that dribble. Timeout DePaul. Kevin Madden.
Well, in case you're just joining us, North Carolina enjoying a 20-point lead, 51-31 over DePaul. And Joey Meyer's frustrations continue. Picture evidence of that right now. Team was shooting only 38% coming into the game, still struggling, and turning the ball over 16 turnovers. And the Carolina defensive cohesiveness, a reason for that as well, Billy.
I would say so. Carolina has played very well, particularly in their run and jump type defenses when DePaul has picked up their dribble. And Joey over there has enough problems with a lack of shooting ability right now. Then his team went ahead and tried to make some plays that just weren't there. For some reason, as an example, Hamby seems to have the ball in his hands at all the inappropriate times in the backcourt area.
DePaul shooting only 32% from the floor in this contest, 6% below their season average.
And North Carolina, they're at 41. As I said, they went 19 years. They've shot over 51% each and every time.
And Booth, although the shot was blocked, Billy, I like the effort.
Well, Booth has been positive on all his offensive shots today. I mean, he realizes that he's got to score for this club, which makes it doubly tough.
David Booth was fouled by Kevin Madden, his first personal foul. Melvon Foster, B.J. Tyler in for DePaul. 10 points, 4 rebounds in the afternoon for David Booth, who, as we've mentioned already, has tried to strengthen himself in the offseason by adding 15 pounds to his frame.
He's had 2 big games this year, 23 against NC State, 29 against Hartford. So he is capable.
The coaching staff says he's probably the best natural leader on this team. And Carolina turns it over. It goes back to DePaul.
Again, Fox throwing the ball in the right direction, though, toward his team's basket. And Hamby again. You know, sometimes, though, a smart defensive team will allow a man like that to catch the ball off. And I don't think that's the case here. But he needs to get himself under the hoop.
Well, the thing is, Billy, he's not a bad release man. He just shouldn't put the ball on the floor.
Well, here he is out at the top of the key. And his team needs him under the basket. He's a graduate student. So what would you expect, right? First graduate student that Joey ever coached.
Adrian in computer science. Ball goes out of bounds, back to Carolina. 12:25 remaining. Carolina on top by 20.
And he's DePaul's first 7-footer as well. Good steal.
Tyler.
Did Fox show some speed there?
Foster shows some strength on the slam. 7 points for Melvon Foster.
I think Foster can be a scorer, but not at the guard position. You know, he needs to be down around the hoop.
He's another player who plays a lot taller than what he is, much like Madden. Joka had to alter that shot because of Hamby's presence.
Good drive by Tyler, and it was excellent hustle by Fox. So you can see just nips the ball, and then Foster finishes it off over bigger people with the dunk.
George Lynch and Hubert Davis in for Carolina, along with King Rice, Kevin Madden, and Scott Williams. DePaul lucky to come away with that slam because Tyler, again, was trying to get a little too fancy, and that's been the knock on him, Billy.
Well, against Ohio State, he did some very good things in the opening game. First time I ever saw the young man play. He has to understand the game a little better. Let it come to him some.
Carolina in the zone defense.
Back. There's nobody out there really looking to take a jumper. Hey, it breaks the string.
Durrell Cunningham.
He has missed 17 in a row up to that point.
So he's 2 for 18
on the year.
Good embellishment. Carolina leads at 51-35, and that pass from Lynch to Scott Williams a little too hard.
One thing you cannot fault the DePaul kids on, they have battle. They have a hard time putting it in the hoop, but it's not through a lack of effort. And Joey has to appreciate that.
Better shooting percentage in the second half for DePaul, and Billy, again, I think a lot of that is because of the aggressiveness going to the board.
Now, Joey was an assistant at DePaul for 11 years, and they won right at 78% of the games, too, at that time as well, so he's not used to losing.
Durrell Cunningham forcing that turnover, number 12 for Carolina.
So there's an example. There's no place for Tyler to go. Defense was back. You pull the ball back out and then get into your half-court offense, and that's what Joey's trying to tell him. The ball possession is extremely important to this team because they're so poor at shooting the ball.
Coach Myers certainly will be tested to his coaching tactical limits this year. Williams is stripped.
You know, JB, you talk about DePaul struggling with two major independents in the United States in the last, 15 years. So been DePaul and Notre Dame. Notre Dame finds themselves 1-3 right now. So, you know, they're not exactly tearing it up. And this was expected to be a banner year for the Irish.
And Billy, although it happened in football with Penn State joining the Big Ten, do you think this might be a trend with the independents being a dying breed?
Well, I think that has moved in that direction for quite some time.
Shot blocked by Hamby, rebounded by Williams. Williams blocked by Durrell Cunningham. So Cunningham has come off the bench, the freshman, and inspired the Blue Demons with aggressive play.
He's going to put up another one.
Smartly didn't. Hamby. You can still see a lot of work to be done there. Rice. Bounces off of Lynch. He's lucky to get it back.
No passing lane there. Just a little bit too close.
Madden. Fox hangs in the air and draws the foul from James Hamby. His first personal foul. Well, Billy, we were talking a little bit about the independents and whether or not they're a dying breed.
Well, there's Bill Foster down at Miami, Florida, 4-0. Wright State, 4-2. Akron, 3-3. DePaul, 3-5. And Notre Dame, 1-3. There may, Miami plays a good representative schedule, so that's certainly worth watching. This Bill Foster has announced his retirement there. Been outstanding as a program builder. That man built the program at UNC Charlotte, which eventually went on to the Final Four. Did a good job getting Clemson to the NCAA tournament, and in a very short time has made Miami competitive.
That graphic for years, of course, reflected just the opposite. But Billy also speaks to how much good basketball talent there is around the country. Foster.
That's a nice job by Lynch. Otherwise, Foster would have had a layup.
Lob to Williams. Kevin Holland.
This is not pretty basketball. I mean, everybody trying to score within 3 feet of the basket.
53-35. Tar Heels on top. 9:14 remaining in the game. Tyler to Howard. And Howard looks to have been fouled, but no call. makes a foul.
The shot is there, but nobody will take it. You know, I said it's not pretty basketball, and you don't have to be high scoring to be pretty. Looking through, and I'll get back to it a second when we come back from commercial, but this has been a game right to the hoop for both clubs.
Nearly a packed house here at the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. DePaul trailing the Tar Heels 53-35. James Brown along with Billy Packer. And Billy, for both teams, you can certainly give them A for effort, but it has been a sequence of ugly basketball.
It really has. And as I said, going out to commercial, JB, you don't have to be a high-scoring team to be fun to watch as far as execution is concerned. Looking through that Carolina record book, I was going back to that 82 team, which many people consider one of the great ones of all time in college basketball. And I looked at their scoring stats. You know, that team only averaged 66 points a game.
With some great talent.
Yeah, and as a little trivia question, would the combined scoring averages of their two leading scorers be higher than Michael Jordan's last year as a pro? And the answer is no. Worthy was at about 16 points a game, and Sam Perkins at 14, and Jordan scored 13 a game. I mean, it's hard to believe, isn't it?
The platoon system, even with that talent, huh?
Well, they just played a very conservative game and had great finishers.
Scott Williams off the mark. Hamby with the rebound for DePaul. 8:12 remaining. DePaul trailing 53-35. This is Holland.
Back to Williams right in there. You know, Williams showed that last jumper. He is an excellent shooter, even from the three-point range when he steps out. And he may be one of the guys Carolina has to deploy this year to take that jumper to extend the defense. I mean, nobody's playing him now.
And that is Rick Fox's first basket of the afternoon. He's got a total of 6 points, but the 4 points were all on free throws in the first half. Foster. I like him.
Foster is good inside. He's quick. He can really elevate up off the floor. And as I said, as a forward, he just has a much better feel. And JB, you pointed out early that he was a center in high school, and he still has that mentality. Play right in around the basket.
Third personal on Rick Fox. Melvon Foster at 6'3", 180, certainly plays at least 2 to 3 inches taller than his height.
He may be even able to extend that to 4 to 5 inches taller than his height. You know, he really does explode. This poor team is shooting from the free throw line under 35%.
1 for 4 for Melvon Foster.
I don't understand why Tyler insists on playing Rice up so tight.
Fox with his second basket of the afternoon. Field goal. He's got 9 points, averaging 13. Tar Heels leading scorer.
Fans went crazy when they saw a jump shot that went in. Here we go again. Let's throw another lob.
Nice alley-oop from B.J. Tyler. 12 points for David Booth. And Tyler, freshman mistake.
Here we're going to see the alley-oop, a solid screen, which clamps Lynch there, so he goes right around behind as David Booth gets an excellent pass. Well thrown by Tyler.
First personal by Tyler.
And there's Indiana with those freshmen playing in such bunches for Bobby Knight, continuing to win, still undefeated.
Rick Fox feeling it and showing it. Third field goal, 11 points. It's a 60-41 Tar Heel lead with 6:25 remaining, and Fox with the defensive steal, but it goes back to DePaul. Touch last by Carolina.
Again, the run and jump by Carolina. Tyler spotted it fairly well that time, and a good crisp pass almost completed. Been a good layup for DePaul.
Hubert Davis comes into the contest, replacing Rick Fox. Rick Fox has really improved by leaps and bounds. A young man who did not play his first 2 years in high school in Nassau, the Bahamas, did play the last 2 years in high school as an exchange student in Indiana. And
had to sit out his senior year, so really he was recruited and never got an opportunity to play as a senior in high school.
Tyler tries to force it into Hamby, and again, a bad decision because Hamby doesn't have good hands. 18 turnovers.
Holland and Lynch really battling inside.
Chilcutt.
One of the few times today Pete Chilcutt has squared up to the basket and taken his jumper. Everything else has been on turnaround jump styles and fadeaway shots.
That basket, his 10th point of the afternoon, won over his season's average. And Chilcutt comes away with the steal. 19 turnovers for DePaul.
And that's right on average. Madden wants it.
Madden gets it and draws the foul. Coming up tomorrow here on CBS, the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern Time. Brent, Irv, Dick, and Will, of course, will bring you all the latest that's going on around the NFL. And, of course, the games that you'll see will include Minnesota heading into Cleveland for a big playoff showdown. Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, and Tampa Bay, an improved Tampa Bay team, taking on, believe it or not, a hot Detroit team. And the late contest will be Washington at Atlanta. We've got more NCAA basketball coming your way right after this.
James, you know how you get one of your jerseys up on top of that roof there?
Billy, I know one thing. It would take me with an awfully tall ladder to get up there to put it up.
That's a good comment. But what all you have to do is be the National Player of the Year or a two-time consensus All-American. And by doing that, that's an easy job. You get up there and you can see how many North Carolina has had over the years.
Well, then North Carolina has a monopoly on that. They've got as many jerseys as other schools with national championship banners or even conference championship.
And, of course, sitting over in the bench with Dean Smith is one of those former two-time All-Americans and #1 player in the nation right there, Phil Ford.
Flying the trade as an apprentice in the coaching profession and doing a good job.
I asked Phil today earlier, I said, Phil, if you had been in a time warp and left North Carolina as a player and been on the moon somewhere and come back, what is so much different? Would it be hard to adjust being a coach here now? And he said it's amazing how many things Dean Smith does the same as he did when he was in school. He said one of the things that he seems to recognize, though, practices don't seem to be as hard. But he said when I was in school and George Karl came back, he said the same thing. Practices aren't as hard as when we were here. So I guess it's just aging process.
Well, Dean certainly has turned out his share of fine coaches around the country as well, Billy.
He certainly has. And one, John Kuster, who had a horrible year last year at GW.
Major turnaround.
Great turnaround. Biggest turnaround in the country. As a matter of fact, he's now 5-1.
School administration stuck behind him, and he says, I'm going to deliver a winner. Right now he has. And Scott Williams comes up with the winner, a follow-up slam for his 13th point.
You know, if you measured the distance of all the baskets made today, I don't think they'd equal much more than a three-point shot. I mean, everything has been right up around the rim.
Carolina with its biggest lead, 65-41, as Chucky Murphy, who should have been doing that more often.
That's that jump shot I thought he was going to make earlier in the ball game.
Box blocked by Hamby. This is Foster.
He's going to the basket.
Howard.
Boy, he's got a slow release. He's having a hard time getting the shot off. It's hard to believe he was such a great track star in Texas. He just doesn't look like the kind of guy that would have the quickness.
Looks to be a little winded, too.
Yeah.
Really does telegraph his moves as well, Billy.
Yep.
Henrik Rodel from Heusenstamm, West Germany. I was really looking forward to talking to Rodel, but didn't quite get an opportunity. Wanted to show him a little German that I know. E-Gates.
Oh, good steal by Chucky Murphy. Scott Williams never knew he was there. You know, I mentioned about Howard. He was a hurdler in high school. I mean, it's hard for me to believe he can get over a hurdle right now.
Well, DePaul.
And he has a major hurdle.
Has a major hurdle right here. And DePaul itself has a major hurdle, trailing 65-46 with 2:53 remaining in the game. Well, Dean Smith said that his troops would come out here and play a lot better, and Billy, they didn't light the place up with field goal percentage, but they certainly did look a lot better than they have in the previous games.
I think he's trying to get his substitution pattern coordinated. That has worked well for him today. The effort on the part of both teams has been good, but they still have some big weaknesses in shooting.
Well, Dean Smith certainly has an awful lot to look back on in a proud fashion. His team, hey, this is the team of the decades in terms of winning percentage.
Best 5 of the decade. You can see UNLV up there. 2 Big East teams in Georgetown and Syracuse. DePaul, number 4. And you know, a lot of those clubs going to be in the run this year for the national championship and starting off in the 90s. You'd have to figure UNLV, Georgetown, and Syracuse, those 3 certainly are going to be in the hunt.
But when you talk about the 90s, there was an old adage certainly that we all knew about, that Carolina didn't recruit players. Other schools recruited, Carolina selected. Now, Carolina has fallen behind the past couple of years. Can they catch up, or will they catch up?
Well, most people who are into recruiting surveys say that North Carolina is leading right now this year in the best recruiting crop for next year. I think a number of factors there. They lost 2 key coaches who had been doing a lot of recruiting. Certainly Eddie Fogler now at Vanderbilt was a very vital factor in the recruiting process. When you come in second, you don't get to play them half the game.
Battle on the boards that Scott Williams wins. His 11th rebound of the afternoon.
And Roy Williams also a very key part of this staff for many years and doing a great job at Kansas. So it takes a while to replace that talent.
Hubert Davis had that one blocked cleanly, and it'll go as a turnover. Coming up tonight on CBS, it's holiday viewing for the entire family as CBS presents Hallmark Hall of Fame, The Secret Garden. Then on Saturday night with Connie Chung, a look at comedian Jackie Mason, the man most everybody loves to hate. That's all coming up tonight, right here on CBS. Under 2 minutes remaining in the contest, and Carolina will get back on the winning track to improve its record to 5-4. And DePaul's woes will continue. Will drop their 6th in their last 7 games.
And JB, when LaSalle, a game we watched yesterday on tape, beat DePaul, they made 11 of 26 threes. So, you know, talking about 33 points from the three-point range. That has not been North Carolina's game plan today.
And Billy, I asked Joey Meyer, well, how could a team beat 2 solid teams like Ohio State and North Carolina State early? And he said, quite frankly, with the loss of Curtis Price, that really hurt them because he was their most athletically gifted player and the best defensive player.
And North Carolina State has improved a great deal since that game. Porciani and Monroe were fixtures, but their inside game didn't have a lot of confidence at that point in the year, as they do right now.
Certainly Porciani and Monroe, one of the best backcourts in the country. Third personal foul called on Chucky Murphy. Joey Meyer said he's had quite a few friends giving him a call as of late, wanting to know if he's okay, and that's because they know he puts more pressure on himself than any external pressure.
Of course, when he goes over to see his father at Christmas time, he gets an earful there as well, because Ray's very outspoken about what should be going on with the ball club or should not be, and he's very supportive of Joey, of course. They worked so closely for so many years. You know, Ray Myers, the fella that is next in line in terms of Dean Smith moving up the ranks as one of the all-time winningest coaches. Dean passed John Wooden this year. Ray's next on the list.
Davis. Curtis Jackson with the follow.
Nice touch.
Curtis Jackson. Kenny Harris, crowd favorite into the game for the Tar Heels.
Harris looked good yesterday in practice.
Lynch tries to find Harris, stolen by Chucky Murphy. Under a minute in the contest. Durrell Cunningham. And boy, he brings that up slump up.
Maybe he just goes in streaks. If he can make 16 straight, he get it all balanced out.
And Billy, certainly too little too late, but I really think DePaul looks much better in that up-tempo game as we take a look at Scott Cherry and John Green coming in for the Tar Heels.
What Dean Smith did, he called a timeout and then didn't want to take it. I really think that ought to be changed. I think that when a coach calls a timeout, he ought to have to use it, or the other coach should say, no, I'll go ahead and take advantage.
Well, the officials force him to take this one. Carolina comfortably ahead by 18. Well, it has been somewhat of sweet music for North Carolina, getting back on the winning track, leading DePaul by 18. And I guess Dean Smith might have said that's how we were playing a few weeks ago, but we're doing better now. Scott Cherry. And Kenny Harris with a double pump.
Good leaner. I like Harris. I think he showed some things in practice. Looks like he could be explosive. Probably has a lot to learn, but he's got some skills.
A freshman from Petersburg High School. They say he can play both guard positions well. And hammered was Curtis Jackson by Matt Winstrom.
James, we saw that band playing when we came back after commercial. This year it's a technical foul. That band is playing during action. And it'll be interesting to see the referee that calls that first one.
What does that affect? It's not like golf or tennis.
Well, a band can't play during action. Yeah. So they're obeying very nicely over there. That was almost a knuckleball that went in.
I was just about to comment on that rotation. Very unorthodox.
Nice pass. And a foul, no call. Another foul, no call.
Green and Winstrom and Rodel doing the job on the boards. But a little too aggressively. Foul goes against Henrik Rodel.
Nobody back for DePaul, and Chucky Murphy needs somebody to throw the ball to. Davis, a natural forward, didn't come back. Now it's Hepner to help out.
Well, I think that's symptomatic of the day. Players have not been on the same page.
Harris came up, and Chucky Murphy said, "I'll meet that challenge." It's hard to believe Chucky Murphy could walk on a major Division I program and be a starter in the same year. I wonder if that's ever happened any place before.
Really says something about the guard situation there at DePaul. 4 seconds remaining. Make it 3.
Of course, Rod Strickland, who went early into the pros, would have been the man at that position last year for DePaul.
From the Dean Dome here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, as Dean Smith shakes hands with Joey Meyer. The difference in this game, a 19-point spread. North Carolina outscored DePaul by 18 from the line. And stick around, folks, because Brent Musburger will bring us up to date with all the sports action from around the country coming up in just a few moments.